You're stuck at home in quarantine. 5 o'clock. Why not have a drink with me?
Hello, happy Thursday, or as I like to call it, Friday Junior. Here we are, hope you are doing well. Looks like we've got Megan and Allison in the chat. Allison, good to see you today on Zoom. Megan, good to see you on Tuesday on Zoom. And we've also got Helen and Tom joining. Hello to my wife and father. Hope everyone is doing well. Thursdays are typically a pretty busy day for me work-wise. Had a lot going on today, but it was good. It was a good busy. I have a few deliverables due every Thursday, which I'm finishing up. I have just like a tiny bit left to do, which I'll do once I have cocktail in hand. But otherwise, overall, a good day. Real highlight of the day is that Helen came through with a Whole Foods delivery today, and we were able to secure, drum roll please, all of this beautiful, beautiful mint, which we are going to use on Saturday for our mint juleps. So if you haven't already, make sure that you get your mint in hand so that we can celebrate what would have been Derby Day on Saturday with delicious, delicious mint juleps. Oh, that smells good. Now, I will admit, I have a moderate amount of stress and anxiety about keeping the mint as fresh and alive as possible. I feel like in the past, whenever I buy mint, no matter what I do, it quickly just gets all soft and saggy and loses all of its snap and vibrancy. And so the two strategies that I am weighing right now are wrapping in a slightly damp paper towel and putting it in a Ziploc bag, which I do not completely seal, in the refrigerator, option one, or cut the stems a little bit and put in like a inch of water in a glass and put that maybe in the refrigerator, maybe not, I don't know. So if anybody has some recommendations for that, please leave it in the chat, trying to figure out exactly how to keep this mint. I just need you to survive, Mr. Mint, for 48 hours and we'll be good. It looks great right now. There's a couple of leaves that are like a little bit soft that I can trim away, but overall, some solid mint. Excited about this for our mint juleps. Also really excited for our cocktail tonight. We're going to be making a cocktail that I have not ever made before, called a Rosita. Whoa, Megan with the recommendation, split the bunch and try both. Those are the two strategies I know of. That's a really good idea, actually. And I guess we'll maximize my chances of having some mint ready to go for Saturday. Thank you, Megan, for that suggestion. I think I just may do that and hedge my bets a little bit so that I am good to go for Saturday afternoon. So I was looking for a cocktail to make tonight, and I flipped open my Death & Co. cookbook too. They have a section, I really like actually the way that they organize their recipes, which is they basically organize them all by spirit, and then within each spirit they have a section on stirred and a section on shaken. So it'll be like gin stirred, a bunch of recipes, gin shaken, a bunch of recipes, rum stirred, rum shaken, etc., etc. But at the beginning of all of these, they have a short section called classic and vintage. And I like to go there, for there's a lot of just like your classic, iconic cocktails, many of which we have made together, whether it's the Boulevardier, a margarita, a Manhattan, the Hanky Panky's in there, the French 75, etc., etc., etc. So I was perusing this list because it's a solid list, and I came across this drink that I haven't made before called La Rosita. And it seems like an awesome, awesome drink. And there's two main reasons I was attracted to it. One is it's a tequila drink, which I don't make enough of. And two, it's a tequila drink that features Campari, which is one of my favorite Amaros, liqueurs, bitter liqueurs, whatever you want to call Campari, one of my favorite cocktail ingredients. And so I found this recipe and I looked into it a little more, and it seems like a great recipe. Really excited to try it out. So then I went to another cocktail book that I really like, which is Meehan's Bartender Manual, which is this really nice leather-bound book by Jim Meehan, who is a big deal in the craft cocktail industry. He started PDT, which is a great speakeasy-style cocktail bar downtown in New York City. And there's a PDT cocktail book, and then he followed up with this, which is, it has a lot about, like, if you were to open a bar, like, here's some things you should think about. And there's, like, pages on, like, the layout of the bar, the physical bar, how to prep for the night, how to do your drink orders. Like, it's very much an industry manual, which I, like, appreciate. But then it also does a really nice job of laying out the drinks, sort of like a little bit of history or background for each of the drinks, and then also some like variations on each drink that you might want to try. And it has this beautiful little description of Rosita. And I learned that it seems to have first been published in the 1970s. So this isn't like a super old drink, but it's been traced back to the 1974 edition of the Mr. Boston Official Bartender's Guide. And I've talked before about this history of different cocktail recipe books throughout the years, and I think there's just a rich tradition of having these different cocktail books dating back to the late 1800s. And Mr. Boston's Bartender's Guide is one of those iconic resources, and there have been many versions throughout the years. And I recently learned that Mr. Boston, which was formerly known as Old Mr. Boston, was actually a distillery here in Boston, right on Mass Ave, that they had like a name brand of a variety of different spirits that they distilled. So I think they had a gin, they had a rum, I think they had a whiskey, they had some brandies. And anyway, they were in operation from 1936, so a couple years after Prohibition ended, up until 1986. But aside from the spirits that they made, they're really well known for these cocktail recipe books throughout the years. And anyway, this cocktail, the Rosita, comes by way of that book in the 1970s version. And then it was refound a couple of times in Gary Regan's The Bartender's Bible in the 1990s, sort of resurrected it a little bit. And then in the 2000s, the Museum of the American Cocktail down in New Orleans made a pocket guide that included this recipe. And I think since then, that was in 2006, it's really taken off as like wildfire as this, the craft cocktail industry and craft cocktail bars have really just blown up over the last 15 years. And, you give a craft cocktail bartender a recipe with Campari in it, and he or she is going to be all over it. And so here we are. So the other thing that's nice about, so many of these just like really strongly, really good cocktail recipes is that it's like relatively simple with just a few ingredients, which we are going to stir up and then serve up in our nice glass here. And so let's get to it. So we're going to start with a dash of Angostura bitters. And then, like I said, this is a tequila drink. So we're going to be using this Reposado tequila. It's 100% agave. And Reposado just means, basically, there's three main classifications of tequila, depending on how long it has been aged for. And so you have the Blanco tequilas, which are super young, are aged less than 2 months. And then you have the Reposado, which is aged between 60 days and 364 days. So in other words, up to a year. And then you have the Añejo, which are the ones that are aged a year or longer. And there's some sub-classifications within each of those, but those are the main categorizations that you want. So we're going to use 1.5 ounces of the tequila, which we're going to add to our bitters in our mixing glass. And then this uses equal parts of dry and sweet vermouth, which I thought was really interesting. So we're going to use 1/2 ounce each of dry vermouth. I have this Noilly Prat French dry vermouth. and then also half an ounce of sweet vermouth, for which I'm going to be using my the Kelly Williams House Vermouth, my homemade sweet vermouth here. I'm going to use half an ounce of this also. So with the Campari and the sweet vermouth, a lot of people will liken this to like, oh, it's like a Negroni variation, because it's kind of just subbing out the gin for the tequila. It's like a tequila version of the Negroni, like, which I can see, but I think people grasp at straws a little bit too much for saying like, oh, this is a variation of this drink, because all it does is swap out this and then slightly change this ratio to include this and this instead of this other thing, and then see, it's kind of the same, which I don't know. I don't totally buy that reasoning. Because it doesn't, if it were like equal parts and it only, bam, subbed in one spirit for another, sure, it's a Negroni variation. But, we're messing with the vermouths. We've got the bitters in here. The ratios are all different. So, I don't know. That's just how I feel about it. You can feel however you want. And we've got half an ounce of Campari. So what we end up with is an ounce and a half of the tequila and then a half an ounce of these other things, which are equal parts Campari, sweet vermouth, dry vermouth. Really interesting, right? And we are going to mix this up in our mixing glass. This is going to be good. All right, and I'm going to strain into my beautiful Nicanor glass right here. Look at that. And of course, Rosita, La Rosita means little rose, right? Rosa Rosita, which no doubt is a reference to this beautiful red color of this cocktail. And we are going to garnish this with just an orange twist. So let me grab some nice orange peel from here, which is, I think, going to go with that, the Campari and the sweet vermouth really nicely. Give this a little spray, get the oils on top, rub around the rim, and drop it in. And there we have this new cocktail to me, which I'm quite excited about, La Rosita. Give this a sniff. Now when I mixed it and then kind of tasted the spoon, I definitely got that tequila flavor there, which was really nice, the tequila punch. When I smell it, I don't get that. I really get all orange and Campari in the nose. And maybe a few of the botanicals from the sweet vermouth. Let's give it a try. Ooh. This might go into my top 10 cocktails list. Holy moly. What a great drink. Wow. You taste the tequila, but doesn't punch you in the face. You just get some nice agave tequila flavor in the background. The Campari definitely influences the drink heavily, but not too much. There's not a ton of it. Less so than in like a Negroni where you get a lot more Campari punch. Doesn't have that much. It's much more balanced. And the vermouths are really nicely balanced out also. The orange ties it all together. This is quite nice. Yes, Aaron, I love it. Big thumbs up. Oh, this is great. All right. Well, I'm going to take this amazing and delicious Rosita cocktail back over to my laptop and finish up some work. But I hope that you all are easing out of the workday and easing into the evening. Good to see you all in the chat. And remember to get your mint ready for Saturday. And
It's 5 o'clock. Why not have a drink with me?
we'll see you then. But before, we'll see you tomorrow night for a Friday night shot and a cocktail.